Usually when we talk about a medical diagnosis, there's this underlying expectation of absolute precision.
Right. Almost like mechanical engineering.
Exactly. You fall off your bike, you break your arm, the X-ray shows that jagged white line on a black background. The doctor just points at it and says, there it is.
Yeah, it's a very binary way of looking at health.
Yeah.
Broken or not broken, sick or healthy.
Yeah.
We really like things to be entirely visible and easily categorized.
Right. I mean, it's comforting, but then you step into the world of AI-driven medicine, and suddenly that comforting binary X-ray machine feels, well, like an antique.
Oh, absolutely. It really does.
Because we're looking at a diagnostic landscape right now that is incredibly powerful, but honestly, it's also a little murky. So, welcome to a brand new deep dive. Today, we have an absolute behemoth of a topic for you.
We really do.
Yeah, we are looking at a stack of 25 cutting-edge medical AI papers. And I mean cutting edge. The sheer volume of breakthroughs happening simultaneously in these sources is, frankly, staggering.
It really is. It can almost feel overwhelming when you see it all laid out at once.
Yeah, totally. So our mission today for you listening is to cut through all that dense academic jargon and map out the entire rapidly evolving life cycle of AI in medicine. We're going to explore how AI is transforming from a simple reactive pattern matching tool into an active reasoning clinical partner.
Which is a massive paradigm shift.
It is. And importantly, we're going to uncover the terrifying new vulnerabilities that this brings.
That transition from reactive to proactive, that's really the crucial thread here. When you look across these 25 sources, the applications are incredibly diverse.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were talking about everything from analyzing microscopic genes to physically guiding robotic surgery. But the underlying theme that anchors all of this is that shift. We are moving away from AI that just flags a weird shadow on an X-ray toward an AI that actually plans, adapts, and, well, anticipates what the human body is going to do next.
Before an AI can anticipate or reason, it has to be able to perceive the world. And our sources show that AI is completely changing how we gather data in the first place. Like, instead of just relying on standard, high-end, super expensive scans, AI is now upcycling basic, low-cost tests into premium diagnostics.
Upcycling is actually a great way to think about it. For example, let's look at paper 7, which deals with transcutaneous Raman spectroscopy.
Okay, you're going to have to translate that for us.
Fair enough. It's a method that uses light scattering to analyze tissue. Historically, if a doctor wanted to determine your bone density to check for osteoporosis, you needed a DXA scan.
Which means specialized, expensive equipment, right?
Exactly, and exposing you to ionizing radiation. But researchers have developed a machine learning model that can recover your bone's spectral signature right through the overlying skin of your finger.
Wait, really? Just through the skin?
Yeah. It essentially shoots a specific type of light through your skin, reads how that light bounces off the bone underneath, and then reconstructs the bone's biochemical makeup entirely non-invasively.
So no radiation, just reading the light bouncing off the bone. That is wild. And we see a similar upcycling trick with heart monitors in paper 11, right?
Yes, the Holter to Sleep framework.
Right, so for you listening, a Holter monitor is just a basic single lead ECG patch. You wear it on your chest to track your heart rhythm. Usually if you want to know if you have a sleep disorder like sleep apnea, you have to go to a specialized clinic, get wired up with a dozen sensors on your head and chest, and, spend the night in a strange bed.
Which is incredibly disruptive and expensive.
Exactly. But this new AI framework analyzes the subtle autonomic modulations hidden in that single ECG signal. Basically, your heart beats slightly differently when you're in deep sleep versus REM sleep, or when you stop breathing for a second.
Right, those microscopic variations.
Yeah, the AI extracts those microscopic changes and builds a comprehensive sleep profile. It literally turns a basic $10 heart patch into a full-blown sleep lab.
It's extracting physiological signals that were always there, but were just too complex for the human eye to see. But, the upcycling goes even further when we look at advanced imaging. Paper 9 introduces a framework called PASTA.
Oh, this one was fascinating.
It uses conditional diffusion models to translate standard MRI scans into highly expensive PET scans.
Okay, let's unpack this. A PET scan gives doctors critical metabolic insights, right? Like seeing exactly where a cancer is actively growing, which an MRI can't always do.
Right, but PET scans involve injecting radioactive tracers into the patient, and they cost a fortune.
Exactly. And PASTA takes the purely structural physical data from the MRI and mathematically synthesizes the functional metabolic data of a PET scan.
That's the idea, yeah.
See, this is where I have to push back. I mean, you mentioned it uses conditional diffusion models. Isn't that the exact same underlying technology that powers AI art generators?
It is, yes.
So like the ones that famously draw people with 6 fingers or hallucinate things that aren't there. If we are synthesizing a PET scan from an MRI, aren't we risking the AI simply, hallucinating a tumor in someone's brain that doesn't actually exist?
What's fascinating here is that your concern is exactly what the researchers were terrified of. I mean, you cannot afford an AI hallucinating a tumor.
Right.
This is why models like PASTA explicitly build in what they call pathology awareness. It doesn't just paint a picture from scratch. It uses a highly interactive dual-arm architecture.
What does that actually mean in practice, though?
It means one part of the AI is strictly looking at the physical structure, the actual anatomy from the MRI. The other part is looking at known disease patterns, and they constantly cross-check each other.
Okay, so it has guardrails.
Exactly. The generation process is physically constrained by the actual anatomy rather than just guessing what a sick brain should look like. We see this exact same philosophy in another framework from papers 1 and 6 called Area D.
Oh, right, the one that analyzes coronary angiography, videos of blood vessels in the heart.
Yes. There was a model called DeepCORO-CLIP that looked at over 200,000 of those blood vessel videos to build a baseline understanding of what a blockage looks like.
Which is a massive amount of data.
It is, but Area D takes it a step further to solve that exact hallucination problem you mentioned. Conventional AI tries to match pixels. If an AI generates a digital model of your heart and gets 95% of the pixels right, it thinks it did a great job.
But in medicine, if that missing 5% means the AI accidentally disconnected a major artery in its digital model, the patient dies.
Precisely. Area D uses reinforcement learning to map the actual topological structure of the blood vessels.
Meaning it understands the geometry. It knows that a blood vessel is a tube that has to connect point A to point B, not just a collection of gray pixels on a screen.
Yes, it aligns the AI to prioritize geometrically complete, physically possible structures. It's a fundamental shift from maximizing pixel overlap to optimizing true clinical reliability.
So the AI is finally understanding the actual physics of the human body, not just like painting by numbers, but upcycling an X-ray or an MRI is still just looking at the big picture.
Bro.
The real diagnostic power happens when we zoom in. If AI can upcycle a macro-level brain scan, what happens when we point it at the microscopic level? The sources reveal a massive push toward universal foundation models that speak the fundamental language of human tissue.
We are seeing a massive boom in computational pathology. For instance, papers 12 and 15 highlight models like CytoSyn. It is generating incredibly realistic synthetic H&E stained slides.
Those are those pink and purple tissue slides you see doctors looking at under microscope in movies, right?
Exactly. And it can even generate accurate synthetic slides for complex conditions like inflammatory bowel disease.
But why do we need synthetic slides? Don't we have enough real sick people to get data from?
Because getting millions of real slides and then paying expert pathologists to manually label every single cell on them is incredibly slow and expensive. CytoSyn creates perfect pre-labeled synthetic training data so we can build other smarter AI models much faster.
Wow. And one of those smarter models is CPNM from paper 2. This one completely blew my mind.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's doing something that sounds like science fiction. It is predicting actual genetic expression profiles purely from looking at the physical structures of cells in an image.
Yeah.
Like, it looks at the shape and arrangement of the cells and essentially infers their DNA activity.
It bridges the visual and the genetic. To understand how it does this, think of it like looking at the physical shape of a building from the outside to guess what kind of business is operating inside.
Okay, I like that. Like,
Yeah.
if I see a building with a drive-through window and golden arches, I know what they're doing inside without having to read their corporate tax returns.
Exactly. The AI has learned that specific physical cell shapes and arrangements, which they call cell type prototypes, consistently correlate with specific genetic instructions.
That's amazing.
And as these models get better, they are becoming truly universal. Paper 21 introduces concept to pixel, or C2P. It can segment any medical image across different modalities, CT, MRI, ultrasound, without needing a human to manually prompt it.
Because it uses what the paper calls semantic tokens, which, if I'm understanding it right, is basically the AI creating a universal alphabet for medical images. It distills abstract medical concepts into a language it can apply to any scan.
Yes, and paper 10 shows us dual IFM, which does something similar for retinal images, but it provides interpretable evidence maps.
Oh, so it actually highlights the exact pixels that led to its conclusion so doctors can see the AI's work.
Exactly. Plus, the early intervention framework from paper 23 makes sure all these different types of data, text, images, genetics actually talk to each other properly from the very beginning of the analysis, rather than trying to mash them together at the end.
So what does this all mean? We always hear that bigger is better with AI. Throw more data at it, make it learn more tasks, and it magically gets smarter.
Right, that's the common assumption.
But I was looking at the ultrasound papers, specifically paper 17 on the M2D-INO model, and it reveals something really counterintuitive. Why would grouping a bunch of clinical tasks together actually make an ultrasound AI perform worse?
It comes down to a phenomenon called negative transfer. We have to remember that foundation models aren't magic.
Okay.
If you take a model and force it to learn vastly heterogeneous tasks, like detecting a tumor in an adult versus measuring a fetal heartbeat, which we saw in paper 18's FMDACL framework,
Yeah.
and you don't have enough training data for both, the model gets confused.
So it just gets overwhelmed.
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
The tasks are competing for the model's limited mathematical capacity.
It's like trying to learn Spanish, French, and Italian at the exact same time from a single 10-page phrase book. Because the languages share some similarities but have totally different rules, you're just going to end up speaking gibberish.
Precisely. M2DNO proved that aggregating too many complex clinical tasks into one model can actively hurt performance in low data settings.
Yeah.
You really have to balance how diverse the tasks are with the actual scale of the data you have.
So perceiving cells and scans accurately is incredible, but real medicine requires context. Knowing a cell's shape doesn't tell you how the patient is feeling today.
Exactly.
This brings us to the next massive shift in our sources. The AI is moving from a static encyclopedia to an active, proactive participant in patient care and drug discovery.
Yes, the leap from simple retrieval to actual reasoning. We see this powerfully in the realm of doctor-patient dialogue in paper 24. They introduce a framework that doesn't just sit there in the corner and transcribe the consultation.
Which is what most AI scribes do now, right?
Right. But this one actively tracks what medical knowledge is currently missing from the conversation.
How does an AI know what's missing, though?
By updating what they call its belief state. Think of it as a dynamic mental checklist. As the patient speaks, the AI checks off symptoms, but it also realizes, wait, they mentioned a cough, but they haven't mentioned if they have a fever. It then actively plans the next most critical question for the doctor to ask.
It's the difference between a medical textbook and a medical resident. The textbook has all the facts, but the resident actually stops the exam and says, wait, what is this specific patient's history? What are we missing here?
Exactly.
But I have to ask, are we really ready to let an AI drive the doctor-patient dialogue? That feels incredibly intimate to hand over to an algorithm that's just doing math.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the AI isn't replacing the doctor's empathy. It's acting as a cognitive safety net.
A safety net.
Yeah, in a typical rushed 15-minute consultation, a human doctor might simply forget to ask about family history. The AI explicitly models uncertainty to ensure no critical question is dropped. And to make sure it doesn't give bad advice, it relies on retrieval-augmented generation, or RAG.
Right. Papers 3 and 20 cover this. RAG is essentially giving the AI an open book test. Instead of letting the AI guess the answer from its vast, murky memory, RAG forces the AI to pull a specific, cited document to answer the question.
Exactly. PaceRAG personalizes Parkinson's drug recommendations, not by reciting generic guidelines, but by retrieving the actual clinical histories of similar patients and synthesizing their specific prescribing patterns.
That's incredibly powerful.
It is, and the multimodal RAG system in paper 20 does the same thing for radiology. It drafts radiology reports, but it pulls historical, cited cases to back up its claims. It has to show its receipts.
Which prevents the hallucination problem we talked about earlier. And because these models can hold so much context at once, way more than a human brain, they are discovering hidden patterns, like paper 19 talks about the grace cycle.
Yes, applying LLMs to long COVID.
Right. They use large language models to analyze the incredibly complex, messy, long-term data of long COVID patients.
And it discovered 3 distinct subphenotypes: protected, responder, and refractory. It mathematically proved that long COVID isn't just one monolithic condition. Patients fall into distinct categories that respond to treatments differently.
And paper 8 introduces the BV-SMC model. This one used something called Bayesian variable selection to discover new drug disease associations.
Bayesian variable selection is essentially a highly advanced mathematical filter. Imagine you have a giant spreadsheet of 1 million patients with thousands of different drugs and symptoms.
Okay, sounds like a nightmare to read.
It is for a human, but the AI weighs the probabilities of different variables interacting and filters out the random noise to find the actual hidden signal. Using this, the model was able to predict drug resistance in tuberculosis by finding genetic markers that human researchers had completely missed.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We've talked about the AI perceiving the body, and we've talked about it reasoning through medical history. But now, the sources show AI is being given operational control in the physical world. It is taking action.
Yes, the leap from the screen to the surgical suite. Look at LogSam in paper 22. This is a system that allows doctors to literally talk to an AI using voice dictation.
Wow.
The AI listens to the doctor describe a brain tumor, and it automatically highlights in segments that exact tumor in the MRI scans on the screen. It translates human speech directly into a visual boundary.
But then we move to actual physical robotics. Paper 5 details robotic ultrasound agents. And to be clear for you listening, these aren't just robotic arms repeating a pre-programmed rigid motion. These agents use large language models to read clinical scanning handbooks.
It digests the text of the handbook and translates those written instructions into physical angles and pressures. It dynamically adjusts its scanning strategy on a live patient's body based on real-time anatomical feedback.
So if the AI moves the wand and the image quality is poor because it hit a rib,
It reasons through the handbook rules and adjusts the probe's angle autonomously to get a better view.
but you can't just let an AI practice on real people until it gets it right. To teach AI how to do this safely, researchers built SurgSigma, which is in paper 4. It's an unprecedented database of nearly 6 million multimodal conversations designed entirely to teach AI complex surgical intelligence.
They are literally training these models to think and reason like surgeons before they ever touch a scalpel.
And the ultimate culmination of all this simulation in action is in paper 25, the colorectal digital twin.
This raises an important question about the entire future of healthcare. The colorectal digital twin is a vision for a personalized, continuous digital simulation of a patient's own gut. It integrates your genetics, your daily physiological data, and your behavioral data to proactively manage diseases like cancer or inflammatory bowel disease.
It's like having a real-time Sims character of your own organs. The doctor can test a treatment on your digital twin to see if it works before they ever give you the actual pill.
Exactly. And it represents a profound shift. Right now, healthcare is mostly episodic. You only go to the hospital when you feel sick, and by then, the disease is already entrenched.
Right, it's reactive.
But we are moving toward continuous, proactive management. The AI simulates what will happen to your gut next week or next year, and interventions can happen before the disease ever clinically manifests.
It sounds like a total utopia, but
Yeah.
before we hand over the keys to the hospital to these robotic ultrasound agents and continuous digital twins, we have to look at the final stack of papers in our deep dive, because the dark side of this technology is frankly terrifying.
The vulnerabilities are massive, and they stem from the fact that while these models are incredibly powerful pattern matchers, they fundamentally lack human common sense.
Let's talk about MedForge from paper 13. This paper introduces the reality of medical deepfakes. And we aren't just talking about deepfaking a politician's voice. We are talking about text-guided image editors that can seamlessly implant or remove lesions and tumors in authentic medical scans.
And they do it with terrifying fidelity. The MedForge benchmark look at realistic lesion edits across 19 different pathologies. The edits are so mathematically perfect that they threaten clinical trust entirely.
Yeah, I mean,
If a doctor cannot trust the integrity of a scan, the entire diagnostic pipeline collapses.
well, I really need to pause here. You're saying a hacker could theoretically breach a hospital system, type a text prompt into an AI, and seamlessly erase a tumor from a patient's scan, or maliciously add a tumor to a healthy patient to force them into unnecessary surgery.
Theoretically, yes. The technology exists to do exactly that, and it's virtually undetectable to the naked eye. This is why researchers are urgently building what they call forgery-aware reasoning models to mathematically detect these manipulations before a doctor ever sees them.
That is deeply unsettling.
But malicious hacking isn't even the most common threat. Sometimes the fragility is baked right into routine, boring hospital workflows. Look at the CODI framework in paper 14.
Right. CODA stands for chain of distribution attacks. This paper demonstrated that these massive, supposedly brilliant AI models can be completely broken by routine clinical shifts. We aren't talking about elaborate cyber attacks by a foreign government. We are talking about a doctor simply adjusting the contrast or the brightness on their computer monitor.
Or a hospital archiving system applying standard file compression to save server space. CODA proved that composing these routine shifts, changing the shading, remapping the pixels, standard export degradations, causes a catastrophic drop in the AI's diagnostic accuracy.
But why? A human doctor can still see a broken bone even if the monitor is a little dim. Why does the AI break?
Because the AI doesn't see a bone. It sees a complex matrix of numbers representing pixel gradients. If you change the brightness, you mathematically change every single number in that matrix.
Oh, wow.
To the AI, it's a completely different image. It might miss a very real, deadly diagnosis simply because the image was saved as a slightly different file type.
A doctor adjusting the brightness on their monitor could cause the AI to confidently declare a healthy lung has pneumonia. That is crazy.
And we see this exact lack of robust reasoning in the Durham case benchmark in paper 16 as well. This paper evaluated AI on diagnosing rare skin diseases. Now, AI is famously excellent at diagnosing common rashes because it has seen millions of them.
Right, pure pattern recognition.
But Durham case proved that when confronted with rare conditions that require actual step-by-step clinical reasoning, even the best large vision language models fail miserably.
Because they can't reason through the differential diagnosis the way a human dermatologist can. They just guess based on surface-level visual similarities. So if you have a common rash, the AI looks like a genius. If you have a rare condition, the AI might confidently prescribe you entirely the wrong treatment and tell the doctor it is 100% sure.
Which underscores exactly why we need those interpretable evidence maps we discussed earlier. The AI must be able to prove its work, explain its reasoning step by step, and we must have systems in place to verify its inputs haven't been corrupted.
What an incredible journey this has been today. To quickly recap for you listening, we've watched AI upcycle basic $10 heart monitors into full-blown sleep labs. We've seen models look at the physical shade of a cell and predict the DNA hidden inside.
Truly remarkable advancements.
We've marveled at robotic ultrasound wands that read medical textbooks and adjust their own grip on a patient's body. And we've stared into the terrifying new world of medical deepfakes and fragile algorithms that get confused by a dim monitor.
The transition from reactive tools to proactive clinical partners is undeniably well underway, but as we've seen, the guardrails are still actively being built. We're essentially laying down the tracks while the train is already at full speed.
Which leaves us with a lingering question for you to ponder long after this deep dive ends. If an AI can now synthesize a flawless, mathematically perfect PE scan just from looking at an MRI, and if bad actors can seamlessly edit tumors in and out of those scans with a simple text prompt, how will future doctors know what is actually real?
It's a sobering thought.
Will the most vital medical skill of the 21st century no longer be anatomy or pharmacology, but simply the ability to verify reality itself? Think about that the next time you look at a medical scan. That black and white x-ray isn't just murky anymore, it might just be a mirage. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.